What if everything you thought you knew about reality was a lie? Imagine receiving two simple gifts from your grandmother, a ring and a coin. At first, they seemed like innocent keepsakes, nothing out of the ordinary. But these objects, they weren't just relics of the past. They were the beginning of a journey into a hidden world, one filled with ancient rituals, dark secrets, and powers beyond comprehension. And once I started digging, I couldn't stop. What I uncovered could change everything. About the world, about my family, and about what's really out there lurking in the shadows. Stay with me, because this story is far darker and stranger than you could ever imagine. It all started one afternoon, when my grandmother handed me a small, weathered box. I hadn't seen her in years, so when she smiled and passed me the box, my curiosity was instantly piqued. She told me that the contents were family heirlooms, passed down for generations. As she handed them to me, she said in her usual calm, serious tone, "Keep these safe. They've always been in our family for a reason." Inside the box were two items, two objects that at first glance seemed rather simple. One was a ring, old and worn, its edges slightly chipped. The other was a coin, its surface tarnished with age, covered in strange markings. They didn't look like much, honestly. The ring was plain silver, and the coin looked like something that could be picked up at a tourist shop. But something about them felt different. It wasn't the type of difference you could touch or see. It was the kind of difference you feel in your gut, a sensation that something wasn't right, but you couldn't figure out why. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, old family heirlooms can be strange sometimes, right? But as I looked at them more closely, I realized that the markings on both the ring and coin were oddly familiar. They weren't just random symbols. They seemed almost deliberate, like a code or a secret language. I tried to make sense of them, but it wasn't easy. There was something about the way the light hit the metal that made my mind race with questions. Why did my grandmother give them to me? Why not someone else? She never said much about their origins. But as I handled them more, something gnawed at me. I had a deep sense that these were not just keepsakes. They were part of something bigger, something hidden. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ring and coin on my bedside table. I decided to start researching. Maybe the symbols were something I could trace back, a clue to their true meaning. Little did I know that decision would set me down a path I wasn't prepared for. I went online, searching for any information about these strange symbols. I spent hours combing through websites, trying to decipher what they could mean. It wasn't long before I stumbled across something that caught my attention. A dark web forum discussing ancient artifacts and occult knowledge. The users were cryptic, mysterious, and often spoke in riddles. But as I scrolled through the threads, one comment stood out. It was about a set of ancient artifacts, said to hold mysterious powers, objects that could bend reality itself. The post mentioned a ring and a coin, with markings that matched what I had. The more I read, the more I realized that these artifacts weren't just relics from some forgotten era. They were keys to something much darker, something dangerous. The forum spoke of a secret society, an organization that had been following these objects for centuries. These objects, it seemed, had the potential to alter not just the course of history, but the very fabric of reality. I was stunned. Could it be that my grandmother's gifts were more than just old family heirlooms? Could they have ties to something ancient, something far more powerful than I ever imagined? I had to know more. As the days passed, My obsession with the artifacts deepened. I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd found. The dark web forum was a treasure trove of information, but it was also dangerous. There were warnings about people who had gotten too close to these artifacts, warnings about the powers they contained. Yet, the deeper I dove into the research, the more I felt an overwhelming need to uncover the truth. The forum threads led me to one chilling discovery, a mention of a mysterious craftsman. This was not a craftsman in the traditional sense. No, this man was said to be an ancient master of creating objects imbued with power, objects that could warp reality itself. According to the forum, this craftsman had worked in ancient Iraq, crafting items that held the key to unlocking unimaginable forces. The more I read about this craftsman, the more I felt a sense of dread, mixed with awe. Who was this person? What had he created? Why had no one ever heard of him outside of these secret circles? And most importantly, what did all of this have to do with the ring and coin my grandmother had given me? I scoured the web for any mention of this craftsman. Eventually, I came across coordinates. Hidden in the depths of the dark web was a thread that listed a specific location, a place deep in the Iraqi desert, rumored to be the location of the craftsman's workshop. The more I read, the more it became clear. This craftsman had worked in secrecy for years, crafting objects that could change the course of history. His workshop, said to be buried beneath the desert sands, was the key to understanding the full extent of the power locked within the ring and coin. I felt a chill run down my spine. The forum post suggested that if you could find this workshop, if you could uncover the secrets hidden there, you might unlock a power that no one in history had ever fully understood. But the danger of doing so was immense. There were whispers of people who had attempted to find the workshop and failed, or worse, disappeared without a trace. I knew that going after these artifacts would be dangerous, but I couldn't stop. There was something calling to me, something that kept pulling me deeper into the mystery. I couldn't back out now. I had to find the craftsman's workshop. I had to uncover what secrets were hidden in the desert. So, with a mixture of fear and excitement, I made my decision. I would go to Iraq. The journey to the desert was harder than I had ever imagined. The terrain was treacherous, the sun relentless. Each day, the heat pressed down on me, like a weight I couldn't escape. But the pull to find the workshop was too strong to ignore. The coordinates I had were vague, but I followed them, inching closer to the place where I hoped the craftsman had once worked. As I trekked deeper into the Iraqi desert, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, the kind of silence that makes you wonder if you are truly alone. I kept checking over my shoulder, but there was nothing there, just endless sand stretching out in all directions. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, I finally reached the location, and what I saw stopped me dead in my tracks. There, buried beneath the sands, was a crumbling structure. It looked ancient, like it had been forgotten by time itself. The walls were covered in the same symbols I had seen on the ring and coin, symbols that seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. I couldn't believe it. I had found it, the craftsman's workshop. The air was thick with dust as I stepped inside. The floorboards creaked underfoot, as if the building were alive, mourning its forgotten purpose. I moved cautiously, my heart racing with anticipation and dread. Every corner of the workshop held remnants of the craftsman's work, tools that were worn with age, scraps of metal etched with strange runes, and unfinished creations that seemed to hum with an ancient power. But it was what I found, hidden beneath a floorboard, that made my blood run cold. A journal. The pages were yellowed with age, the ink faded, but the handwriting was unmistakable. The journal was filled with cryptic sketches and writings, all centered around the crafting of artifacts. As I flipped through the pages, I realized that these weren't just any ordinary artifacts. They were objects imbued with the power of ancient deities, capable of bending reality to the will of their creator. The journal spoke of a forbidden ritual, one that could awaken the full potential of these artifacts. It mentioned how the ring and coin I now possessed were not just pieces of history, they were keys to unlocking unimaginable power. But with that power came a terrible price. The journal warned of the curse that befell anyone who dared to wield the power of these objects. The curse was not just physical, it was spiritual. It would consume your soul, twisting your desires, binding you to the artifacts forever. As I read on, the implications of the journal hit me like a hammer. The objects were not just relics, they were conduits of power. And that power was both intoxicating and terrifying. The more I learned, the more I realized that my grandmother's seemingly innocent gifts had drawn me into a world I wasn't prepared for. These artifacts weren't just a part of my family's history. They were a part of something much, much larger. I couldn't turn back now. I couldn't. With the journal in my hands and the artifacts by my side, I returned home. The journey had changed me in ways I couldn't explain. The desert, the ancient workshop, and the knowledge I had uncovered, everything felt like a fever dream. But now, I had a choice. The journal contained detailed instructions on a ritual, one that would unlock the full power of the artifacts. I couldn't resist. I had come this far. I had to know what lay beyond the veil of reality. With the ritual's instructions clear in my mind, I began. It wasn't just a series of words. It was an invocation, a call to forces I couldn't fully understand. As I spoke the words, the world around me seemed to tremble. The artifacts began to pulse in my hands, their power surging through me. Visions hit me like a wave. I saw things that no one should ever see, otherworldly realms, faces from ancient civilizations, and whispers from the depths of time. The knowledge I uncovered was unlike anything I had ever imagined. I could feel the power of the artifacts coursing through me, and with it came a darkness, a hunger that threatened to consume me. The ritual ended as suddenly as it began. I was left gasping for breath, my mind reeling. I had unlocked something ancient, something forbidden, and in doing so, I realized that there was no going back. The power of the artifacts was real, and it was mine to wield. But at what cost? I now understood the warning in the journal. The power I had unleashed was both exhilarating and terrifying. I had crossed a line, and the consequences of doing so would haunt me forever. What began as an innocent gift from my grandmother had led me down a path I could never have imagined, a path that would challenge everything I thought I knew about reality itself.